When Jason was in diapers, I knew he was going to be an unusual child. He'd be in his high chair at the dinner table, and if there was any music on, he would be beating on the table. Tap, 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 tap. We realized this kid needs some drums because he's always beating up everything. And he had a band, and then life changed. January 9th, 2012, I'll never forget.
I used to do subcontract work cleaning restaurant exhaust. We'd usually do like 2 to 3 jobs a day, go up on the roof, spray down the duct. Just like I remember it, pink flash, and then like a loud boom. And then I woke up in the hospital.
When I knew that we were gonna have to amputate his arm, he cried in my arms. He said, "Mom, I'm never gonna amount to anything. I'll never play drums. I'll never be able to do anything again in my life, ever." After 3 weeks into him being home, he said, "I can't take this anymore." He said, "Get my drum kit out of the garage." And so we duct taped a drumstick to his arm. He did some little tapping around, and then he turned around and said, "You know, I think I can make something work."
Seem like it's growing back, Doc.
There's a side of me ever since I've been a kid where if I'm gonna start something, it has to get done. I just won't let it go.
So my current prosthetic was what you call a body-powered prosthetic.
It just uses basic mechanics, so there's no robotic controls or no electronics.
I use a lot of my shoulder and elbow to kind of exaggerate to get the hits that I want. It's pretty exhausting. It also has limitations on how fast I can play.
Like, that feels like it might be a little too slow now.
At first, it was a little slow. Yeah, it's a weird one.
So I had an idea of developing a robotic drumming prosthetic, and Gil Weinberg develops musical robots. And so I knew Gil was kind of the right person to reach out to.
I understood immediately what he wanted. He wanted to sense more of his muscles and be able to control the bounce of the drumstick.
Basically, we just wanted to be able to get me back on the kit and play as humanly natural as possible.
The model is trying to learn you, but you probably will have to learn how to work with the model.
Yeah, I think most of it now is like the sensitivity. I'm not training it that hard.
Also, there's a trade-off, because if you increase sensitivity, then it's going to have a lot of false positives and false negatives.
Would you like to move stiff, loose? How fast are we going to change between the kind of hits?
I mean, I have tons of ideas, but then it's just like how accurate is everything going to be? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Okay. I was a little worried. Can we provide him with what he wanted in terms of the latency and the control? We didn't know that it's possible.
Okay, I'm really excited to see if we have signals. Ready, Ning?
The goal is very simple, but in reality, in each of the steps, it's actually pretty complicated.
Oh, see, and that's what happened last time.
We have some crashes, and the stick starts to roll around. Maybe we should have Raghav listening also to get an insight.
So what you might have to do is you just take data while you're moving it.
Like we were doing in the lab.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Gotcha.
So that might solve this issue.
It could be also the power supply itself.
Right.
There are actually a handful of challenges with creating a prosthetic arm specifically for drumming. Latency is always a big concern. You don't want to flex your arm and a second later for it to do something.
It is delayed by 50 milliseconds. You can notice that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of nuance with exactly how the drumstick reacts. Things as subtle as how tightly do you grip it? How does it bounce? They're really hard to calibrate if you don't have a machine learning system to gather all the data.
When I heard about Jason's story, it really blew my mind. I was like, whoa, I had no idea how far we have come in terms of AI and prosthetics.
So the way the arm operates is we use EMG, which stands for electromyography. Basically what that is it's sensors that are amplified by a battery that pick up electrical signals from our residual limb.
Using these signals, we are able to do recognition of complex patterns with machine learning and then map them to specific movements. TensorFlow Lite is doing that in real time.
And so I can flex my muscle and it will tighten the grip on the stick, and I can extend my muscle and it will loosen the grip on the stick, just like it would with a normal hand.
No, the latency, it's like none.
Awesome, that's awesome.
And in the last few months, we were able to detect almost 100% of the time this intention.
I can actually feel the feedback from the arm, and it feels as close to a real hand as you can get without it actually being a real hand.
I think what Jason and the team has accomplished is truly awe-inspiring. He took what was a large setback in his life and he moved an entire field of research forward.
So loose, you can actually...
Let me see what it might mean.
Yeah, I mean, there are drummers with two sound hands that don't have double strokes that even. It's amazing.
For the first time, if you look at him playing, you may not even notice this technology. You just see Jason as the great and expressive musician that he is.
Of course, I think there's a need to keep pushing on this stuff because there's always someone that needs help with something like this, and AI is going to be the bridge between that.
I hesitated for a few seconds, and I realized the enormity of it, what it really meant. I'm 55 years old, and for the first time, I was able to call my son.
This is Matthew. He likes to swim in cold water.
After a swim, you feel alive.
Like really, really cold water.
I also swam across the English Channel.
But that's another story. Matthew is deaf.
People think if I got a hearing aid on, I could hear everything. And that's not true. I lip read most of the time. I have two boys, and they're both very important parts of my life.
This is Matthew's youngest son.
Hi, I'm Harry.
He lives in Hong Kong and plays rugby.
I always want to keep in touch with him. Before, I need to communicate with him through Zoom or WhatsApp. I would try and lip read him, but it's really hard because it's not 3D, it's a flat screen. When I got the Google Picture phone, I could live capture Peter. Harry was the first person I phoned. It was incredible. And we were talking for about half an hour. All of a sudden, he said,
Dad, do you realise this is the first time we've talked on the phone?
I was speechless for 3-4 seconds, and it realised what it really meant. I'm 55 years old. For the first time in my life, I was able to see my son. It was wonderful. What you going to do? Mobile phone been around for a long time, and yet hadn't been really fully accessible till now. That's what inclusive means. You don't feel left out. Everybody feels the same.
All right, Thomas.
Ben, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Where are you, brother?
Right here, buddy.
All right. You want to show me the way? Straight to the right? Come on, let's go. Let's go.
My name is Thomas Panic, and I'm a blind man. I'm an athlete, I'm a runner, I'm a father, I'm a CEO. I have a genetic condition, it turns out, that would make me blind by the time I was a young adult. When you run, you like a kid, you feel free. You go as fast as you can, and eventually I couldn't do that anymore. I lost that part of me. I ended up getting some volunteer human guides to run with me, but I was always behind. Even though my legs and my lungs had the capacity to run faster, I had to follow the person in front of me. Having the ability to do it independently was really important to me.
Thomas came to Google during a one-day hackathon event, and during that event, he asked us,
can we help a blind runner navigate? Can we make that happen? Can we make navigation for a blind runner possible?
It's not obvious to us how to do it, but we came up with this basic prototype.
So what we came up with was a system that just uses a regular Android phone. The machine learning algorithm that we have detects the line and can tell whether the line is to the runner's left, right, or center. We can then send signals to the runner that guides them left and right based on their positioning.
The first time we went out, we didn't even know if sound would be enough to guide me. So it's sort of that beta testing process that you go through.
From human eyes, it's very obvious. It's very obvious to recognize the line. Teaching a machine learning model to do that is not that easy.
You step left and right as you're running, so there's like a shake to the line, left and right. As soon as you start going outdoors, now the light is a lot more variable.
Tree shadows, falling leaves, and also the line on the ground can be very narrow, and there may be only a few pixels for the computer vision model to recognize.
We didn't want to rely on any internet connection. We had to take our huge model and shrink them into something that we can run on device as fast as we need for someone to run at full speed with.
Well, we've been waiting for 25 years for this minute.
People with vision don't want blind people to take risks. That's what keeps people who are blind from participating in society fully. The safest thing for a blind person to do is to sit still. I ain't sitting still. There was no tether. There was no stick. There was no furry dog. It was just being with yourself.
Absolute freedom. Oh my goodness. That's the first time I've run alone in decades. Just through the woods, you know, by myself. I never thought we'd be here, you know. I didn't think we'd ever be here. It's independence, you know. I'm so dependent on people every day. You, the kids, Blaze. Just me and Elaine, huh?
I am about to test a pretty neat sounding app by Google called Guideline. I don't walk by myself outside of my home.
I'm feeling a little nervous. I never walked without a cane or my guide dog before.
It's kind of scary, but okay.
Interesting.
Wow.
You good? All right. Up we go. Oh, because she wants to do that uphill, Marianne Stano.
I can describe it as like flying freely.
Freeing, I think, would be like the word that I describe it as. I was able to walk down the street and I felt safe.
Not everybody has a chance to have a guide dog or a volunteer human guide. It's really an opportunity to provide an individual who's blind with freedom to be mobile and active and fit and exercise.
Project Guideline is an early-stage research project. As we continue our research, we hope to work with more organizations. To learn more, please visit goo.gle/Project Guideline. Thank you to Thomas and Guiding Eyes for the Blind for their collaboration and support.
Ryan and I have been working in software together for a few years when we came up with the idea for Bushel. Bushel is a software platform that allows farmers to check in on the business that they're doing, what the facilities they sell their grain to. We have over 40,000 farmers that use our tool. We started with Google Workspace all the way from the beginning. Everybody can come in together and work on these shared documents, shared spreadsheets, keeping track of financials. It's a big deal for us to keep things moving.
Jake is the Google Docs starter. We get out of a meeting and he's like, yeah, let's put this into a Google Doc. And all he does is create the file. And then he's done with it.
That's just how I roll.
I don't think I've ever opened a Google slide deck and not seen Ryan's little icon in the upper right-hand corner. You'll probably get 20 to 25 questions from Ryan.
Yeah, I'm the comment king, absolutely.
Dan will dial in from anywhere and everywhere. He dialed in last year and somebody said, that's a really realistic virtual background you have. And he was like,
I'm actually in my tractor.
we all had those scenarios in the last year where we've seen a little bit more humanity in the background of our work calls than we ever have before.
There was one time we actually had a design team meeting. All of a sudden, I felt this pain in my foot. My pet snake bit me. The designers thought that was pretty funny.
Innovative thinking put together in a common place for teams, that has been an absolute game changer for how Bushel works and the type of work we're able to accomplish in this crazy situation that we were all put in a year ago. I don't think it would have been possible without Google Workspace.
I saw at the last minute the truck coming towards us, and I knew it's gonna hit on my side, and it just...
This is Chris.
I'm Chris.
He's married. We met in college. Likes to go hiking and take photographs. But this isn't a story about that. It's a story about a car accident. Don't worry, everyone's okay.
It was a good day. We went to go get a late lunch in the Gatlinburg area. Driving back is kind of a new part of the area we've never driven through before. The road split into a Y, and there was no signage in terms of a yield, a stop sign. So I was in the passenger seat giving directions. I had my phone in my hand, and I was pointing to go straight. I just remember that moment, the truck coming closer and closer.
It was just scary. I was pointing, and I didn't know what to do. I wasn't sure if I should try to relax, what I should do with my hand.
I remember looking at my finger, I'm like, something's gonna happen to my finger. I remember a distinct smell from the airbags, kind of like a burning smell. The jacket that I was wearing kind of melted a little bit, some of the fabric. I remember just hectic moment. Everyone just panicking of kind of what happened. My Pixel actually detected that we were in a car accident and started vibrating as if a phone call was coming through. And then at that point, it prompted me whether I needed to call 911, and it responded super quick. I don't ever really think about, how's my phone going to save me today?